Okay, we are here right now, just around the corner from the family court in Wellington, and I'm here with Stephen, who is one of Free Assange New Zealand's most passionate supporters. He's been coming along to the rallies for an awful long time, and I heard about his case with family court that's been going on 18 years. He's been trying to access his children. They're grown up now, and he's simply asking for the court to release the documents that would give him a little insight into what it was that caused the court to remove his access to his children. We went and had a meeting inside the family court, and was he your case manager, Stephen?
He's the manager, case manager is...
No, who was he?
The case manager is a woman.
Yeah, but who was the person we spoke
He's
to?
the manager of the family court coordinators.
Okay. So we spoke to a lovely gentleman. He was full of empathy and David Edney, and he was very respectful. And we listened to the reasons that the court stated that he could not get his file access. Now, one of the considerations that I was unaware of until I was in that meeting were that the condition to see his children was premised on him taking psychiatric drugs that he disagreed with taking. He had been taking them for a number of years. There was times when he was locked up. Yeah, and in the excuses for not giving him his papers, they say that he consented, all parties consented to this, and which he fundamentally denies. Obviously, since this case has been going on for an awful long time, it's been a while since all this went down. His children, as I said, are grown up now. But anyway, I'm going to just ask him to answer a few questions now so you can hear a little bit more about the sort of struggle that he's had, and in particular, fighting the requirement that he takes psychiatric drugs that he did not agree with. He's no longer under the Mental Health Act. That was the excuse that they gave before, that he had to take those drugs. I question that, and I think that the reason that perhaps they're not giving the file to him is that there is incriminating evidence in there. Okay, Stephen, so please can you just tell me a little bit about how long this has been going on, and how long is it since they made you sign that agreement that they say they made you sign, that they're claiming that you gave consent to them proceeding the way they did?
The only way, is that going to record the sound?
Yep.
From there?
Yep.
The only way for it to really answer that is to say that the mother didn't want me to see the children, and so I got very little access to my children when they were growing up, and eventually it became nothing. And so since they grew up and people said that things would resolve themselves, they haven't. And so now there's other issues, like the grandson has been given a drug called Ritalin, which I totally disagree with because of my experience with psychiatrists and believing that psychiatry is fraudulent. And I put myself in the camp with Professor Mosher, Dr. Peter Gregan, Dr. David Healy, and people like that who believe that psychiatry is a load of rubbish. And so it's been going on since the first one was born.
And we heard a little bit about the fact that whilst you're not allowed any access to your children and you don't know really what has been said to them that isn't bringing them to come and seek you out, there's been a number of cases where you have been brought in to pay for things to deal with issues that they've had legally, or so you still have a certain responsibility to them, but no access to them, no ability to actually raise the children.
Well, they've grown up.
They've grown up.
They've grown up. My oldest son is 43, and the younger one is 34. The granddaughter is 23. So it's historical. But the point is, whilst they were growing up, the family court made it very, very difficult, and then stop me from seeing them altogether. And so, because things haven't worked out and I haven't been able to re-establish relationships with them or my grandchildren, who I never see, even though like my trust paid $12,000 for my granddaughter's teeth, still haven't seen her. So because nothing's resolved, I want to get the file to find out why they did all this, why the family court broke up the family and stopped me from having a relationship with my sons. The critical time was when I went to the family court and the court ordered that a psychiatrist see me, and I provided 14 character references which the judge said were irrelevant, and then he went on the report by the psychiatrist.
And you said he
I want to
dropped
see
it. He dropped it just there, and he never even looked at it when you gave it to
He
him.
went like this. He took the file of 14 character references, which had taken me months to accumulate, and he just went like this. That's not relevant. Where's the psychiatric report?
Incredible.
And so people such as my uncle, who was my dad's brother, who knew my dad from when he was a kid, he wrote a reference for me. The lady who came out from Ireland with my mother when she immigrated here, she wrote a reference. The parish priest, all sorts of people.
Right.
And nobody hinted at any reason why I would not or should not see my sons. But of course the judge didn't even read that, unless he read it later. But he said it wasn't relevant, so I've got no reason to think that he did read it. But this blind psychiatrist.
Because he made his decision right there and then, and you saw him getting it and not looking at them. Is that how it took place?
I can't remember, but all I remember is that he said these aren't relevant. The references for people that had known me and my family for many years, he said they weren't relevant. But he thought the psychiatrist who I'd never met prior to his interviews, who I found a very unusual character, his report, his assessment of me was relevant.
But also that assessment required you going on psychiatric drugs again, wasn't it? That was the reason given that you weren't given access.
Well, I had first seen a psychiatrist when I was in the Merchant Navy and I got beaten up on ship deep sea, and when I got discharged in Wellington, I was only 19, I think. I had a personality change and turned criminal, and when my parents came back from overseas, they were so shocked that my dad said, if you don't go to a psychiatrist, we're going to get you committed. So
you went
took me
voluntary.
to a psychiatrist, and I didn't know anything about it at that stage, and I just took their drugs. Hey?
Sorry, someone was asking.
I just took their drugs, so
Can you talk about what happened when you were in psychiatric care, and you were telling us a little bit about what happened in the drugs that you were given in there, a whole cocktail.
Well, the whole psychiatric system is a nightmare, and
You said that the people inside that institution felt that they were almost like guinea pigs.
yeah, a lot of guys said that.
Yeah.
But we didn't get explained to us the side effects of the drugs. If you resisted them, you'd be held down by 4 people, one guy on your leg, one guy on each leg, one guy on your arms, and then they'll stick a needle in your bum. And I got given lots of antipsychotic drugs in that manner.
Right.
And I've already given evidence against my treatment in the psychiatric system to the Royal Commission on Abuse in State Care, and they hold 33 pages of transcript on that.
Right. And where did that transcript come from?
The Royal Commission on Abuse in State Care. Prior to that,
On your particular state care or on general state care?
no, there's a Royal Commission on Abuse in State Care, and I've given evidence to the Royal Commission.
Oh, I see, as part of that, right.
Prior to that, I've given evidence before a judge and a panel of people, and another thing which was called the confidential listening service. And they probably got it from there to the Royal Commission.
Now, what was interesting today is that we were handed this brand new document, brand new procedure as to how to go for access to your court records, and he recommended we try this. But the worry is that Stephen's been forced to sign some kind of consent as part of his previous sign-off of the last case, and I don't think that he was fully aware legally of what he was actually signing. And if that signature there has resulted in him not being able to see his children and now not being able to access his file,
It's more complicated.
well, it's one of the reasons that they used.
Well, I don't, you know, the letter of the Royal Killer and one of the greatest writers on English law in history said the law is an act, so I back that up. The law's bullshit. Now, I never fucking consented to not seeing my kids.
No.
I don't care what I fucking signed.
You wouldn't know, but what the point is that the lawyer would have had to have made you aware of what you were signing if that was
Well,
the case.
I don't know. I mean, 18 fucking years of their bullshit. So I signed some fucking thing, you know. When I was in
I
forensic
think you could
unit,
call that under duress.
when I was on a forensic unit, the day I was meant to get released after 3 fucking months of torture, this person handed me a thing saying, sign this, or you don't go. And it said, I've had all the side effects of the drugs explained to me. Well, of course they fucking had. But I wanted to get out after 3 fucking months.
I
So I
understand.
signed it.
Yeah. Well, to me, it seems like you didn't get very good legal representation at that time. Also, how long have you been going to talk to family court about this? How long has it been?
I've been going for years, but with David Edney only for about 5
No,
months.
but other people there?
I've been doing it since you know, for about 20 years.
And one of the
because-
things he said was that this is not new. This is not a new system. And if that's the case, why on earth has it taken this long to find out that this is the method for him to actually get his data?
Well, it's just another fucking thing, you know. Like, I mean, like, if they really wanted to do what was right, they would give me the stuff, you know. They'd do it. Like, but they don't. They say they give you this, or they give you that, or go and see a lawyer, or get a judicial review. I've been through all that bullshit.
I mean,
for years,
one of the reasons
you
they
know?
cited was that they don't want you raising the case again, which begs the question, why? Why don't they want
Yeah,
you raising
well,
the
I think they're ashamed of what they did, because it's a very serious thing to separate a parent from their children, and I think they know that they made a mistake, and they don't want it in the public arena of how badly I was treated, and then putting it in the psych system. Well, it's all related, you know.
And one of the,
Admittedly, I admit that in the court I had outbursts and got angry at different times, and that was the wrong thing to do, and I know it was. You're not meant to swear and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But
but
you
it's
know,
understandable, isn't it?
well, I mean,
when your children
if
are
there
denied.
was a reason to fight a war, it might be to defend your children. So, you know, it's a pretty serious thing.
One of the things I found most disgusting about the reasons for not giving his file was the last statement by the judge, which is that it seems that all he wants to do is litigate 30 years later, and they can't possibly see any other reason why he would want his file, therefore they're not giving it to him. In other words, it's been a long time ago. Why do you even want this? Why would you want this so many years later? And that seems ridiculous. Is there a statute of limitation for loving your kids and wanting access to them? No, there isn't. And so I asked the gentleman 2 questions. What is the statute of limitation on something like this? And I did say that I think we're going to follow this up, because I feel like there's a lot of men in this situation, and it's displaying gross bias by the family courts against the men without evidence, and forcing medical treatments on someone. It just, you know, to get access to his kids, even now when he's not under the Mental Health Act, still not to give him the paperwork so that he can see what happened. It seems beyond corrupt to me, but that's my non-legal understanding of what I've seen this morning. Anything else that you want to add and tell the people?
About Julian Assange.
Right.
Well, the way that I met Alex was at a protest that she organised to support Julian Assange, and so I greatly admire what he's done in the world to let people know what's really going on, and I think it's disgraceful and it's cowardly the way that the authorities have treated him, and so we'll keep going to do what we can here. New Zealand's got a very, very poor record. I know I'm also an Irish citizen. I know a lot of Irish MPs have spoken out on behalf of Julian Assange, but not one in New Zealand, which I think is disgraceful.
No, and on top of that, New Zealand has an appalling record on using psychiatric patients in mental care to effectively use as human guinea pigs. And I think in this climate where we're seeing this on a massive global scale now, people will be very interested in these cases because this stuff has been going on a long time. And I'm aware of an investigative journalist who's looking into this right now, and I am going to hook these guys up. Want perhaps to be able to add him as another person who could testify in his case. And
I think, is that about covering it, or do we need to cover anything else?
Well, just one point that I think is interesting. Like, I felt very much on my own whilst trying to get to see my kids, and I got put in the psych system. I haven't had anyone who argued as passionately as what Alex did today at any meeting for me, and also Leon here, who's come all the way into town from past Rua to support me, and so I think things are changing.
yeah, they sure
But,
are.
it's been very, very difficult, very difficult.
The compulsory
It's
treatment?
led to lots of other things against me, like me getting into trouble and then not being allowed to work, all sorts of things like that, trouble with the police.
And I'm just going to ask the viewers about a few drugs that they were requesting. In fact, all of the drugs that they were requesting he carry on taking in order to see his children. And they were Tegretol, sorry. Do you want to say them? Carbomazine, is that it?
I think the other
Lamictal, Tegretol.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
What's the
Tegretol's another name.
carbamazine?
Carbamazepine, that's just
Mazepine.
another name for Tegretol, I think.
Okay.
But like when I was locked up in psychiatric unit, they gave me antipsychotics like Stelazine, Malarol, Largactil,
Oh my God, you're going to have to
Haloperidol,
give me the list.
Zuclafin, Tixoacetate,
Can you give me
and
that list
many
by
other
text?
ones. One time I said to them, you gave me 6 different drugs, and that's polyprescribing according to psychiatrists who argue against psychiatry. I went off.
No, it's all good.
But like I support people like Professor Mosher, David Healy, Peter Bregan, and people who are qualified as psychiatrists like them who say that it's fraudulent.
And
We don't understand how the human mind works.
no, and
In
I.
actual fact, the cause of mental illness is sin, not chemistry. Chemistry is just is
okay.
what comes later.
So, just to give you a little bit of background on just how badly the family court treat people in New Zealand, fathers in particular.
2 people have killed themselves.
2 people
that
have
I
killed
know of.
themselves. One of them burnt themselves alive outside
At
the beehive at Parliament here the day before Jacinda was voted in. And I mean, really, that speaks volumes as to how people are being treated and not heard. And I think I'll sign it off there. Thank you very much. And if you can help us, I'll put a list of the drugs that he was forced to take, both within care and after care, and see if anyone out there in the hive mind can help us get some more information on those if there is any counterindications between those medicines that could have caused him harm. I think there's probably plenty of reasons to be concerned about forced medication, don't you?
I also say that I'm completely out of the psychiatric system
Yes, I did,
since
yep.
about 2015, I think
Yeah.
it was. And they did everything in their power to try to keep me in the system. And you
What
can
helped
see
you get out?
Dr. Peter Bregan and my faith in Jesus Christ. That's the main thing. As a Christian, I knew that I had a sound mind, and that because I disagreed on certain issues, it didn't mean that I was mentally ill.
Absolutely.
And I was wrong to get angry with them, but when you get stopped from seeing kids, most
You get
men
angry.
will get angry.
Yeah, and I mean, it will cause gross damage to you. Yeah, it probably causes something like PTSD, I imagine.
And I mean, even just looking at the Ritalin that they were trying to put his children on, we know that
No,
is
that's my grandson.
Your grandson.
yeah. I mean, Ritalin I think is being quite
An
discredited, and I don't think that should be.
Basically an amphetamine.
Yeah.
as far as I know.
Yeah, big pharma, don't we love it?